This is Trex News with the news that just won't go away. This week, Lyse Doucet pouts. Can the BBC go for a whole 24 hours without mentioning Syria? Not when it's pushing for more military intervention, it can't. The 13th of October saw Antonio Guterres of Portugal, formally selected by acclamation, becoming the 9th Secretary-General of the United Nations to replace Ban Ki-moon from January 1st, 2017. The following day, BBC News was dominated by the death of the Thai king and the Trump abuse of women scandal. But they managed to slip in a short interview with Guterres by Chief International Correspondent Lyse Doucet. And what did she want to focus on? Climate change? No. Nuclear proliferation, maybe. It's 3 minutes to midnight, baby. No way. Refugees, perhaps. Guterres was High Commissioner for Refugees from May 2005 until the end of December 2015. No again. Iraq, Libya, Nigeria, Yemen. It's just got to be Syria and the need for war. Here we go.
The new elected head of the United Nations told the BBC, with so many conflicts around the globe, we face a very difficult moment in the history of our world. Antonio Guterres, former Prime Minister of Portugal, former head of the UN's Refugee Agency, said the conflict in Syria is breaking his heart and that he will fight for peace.
He actually says it's the suffering of the Syrian people that breaks our hearts. But let's slide on by.
Our chief international correspondent, Lyse Doucet, has been speaking to him. She asked him first if he was already feeling the responsibility and the pressure of the most impossible job on earth.
Well, the pressure not yet, the responsibility, of course. We live, unfortunately, in a world in which power relations became unclear. You see impunity and unpredictability everywhere. You see multiplication of conflicts. Old conflicts seem never to die. The international community has shown very little capacity not only to prevent conflicts and to solve them, but even to guarantee a minimum of humanitarian assistance to people involved in conflict situations.
And all the fears and the fractures of the world seem concentrated in Syria now. Many say this will be your biggest challenge.
And there it is, the focus on Syria. Watch out for the pout that follows.
Many say this will be your biggest challenge, ending the
Syria
war.
is indeed the biggest challenge, but let's not forget it's not only Syria. I mean, all the conflicts many of the conflicts are becoming interlinked. I mean, from Nigeria to Mali, from Mali to Libya, from Libya to Yemen to Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan.
Uh-oh, a back shot cut away. There'll be a jabbing pen next. Guterres paints a picture of a complex global problem, but that's not what Doucet wants to talk about.
All these conflicts are becoming interlinked and linked to the problems of global security. You see fighters going from one place to another, fighters coming from all over the world to fight in these scenarios, and you see a clear link between these wars and global terror.
Some, including Britain's Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson, US officials are saying military options have to be now considered seriously for Syria.
And there it is. Fight, fight, fight.
Well,
and there it is. Another pout.
the role of the Secretary General is to try to be an honest broker, is to try to be a messenger for peace, is to try to be a bridge builder. Now, I'm not yet a Secretary General. There is a Secretary General entering the situation.
Some would say the bridges are shattered. There are no bridges.
Just who are the some that say? Hillary Clinton, perhaps? Oh, that's hearsay. I wonder if Doucet would wave her hands and interrupt the would-be President of the United States like that.
I can only be prepared to eventually, whatever the situation that I will find in January, to be able to do something to really help to be able to put an end to this tragedy. And look at the Syrian people. I mean, the suffering of the Syrian people is something that really breaks our hearts, and the Syrian people would not deserve it.
Do you fear more war, that there will be more war in Syria, that we haven't seen the worst yet?
I hope not. I sincerely hope not, because we have seen such a terrible level of suffering that to think that this will even get worse.
But your job is to end it now.
No prizes for guessing what she means by end it now.
I believe that it is the international community's first priority is to be able to end this conflict and then to use the momentum created by it to try to address all the other conflicts that are interlinked.
You talked about making a big push for peace, that this may be what the issue, your big issue as Secretary General. But many are saying that when it comes to Syria, diplomacy has been exhausted.
Not just some are saying, now it's many are saying. Notice how the voice for war is presented as the voice of neutrality.
Well, peace is not the only issue, of course. Development is very important, human rights are very important, everything is interlinked. But if one looks at today's world, the central problem we face is war, is the multiplication of conflicts. When I was studying history in high school, usually battles or wars had winners and losers. Now everybody's losing. I don't see any winner in any of the conflicts I'm seeing. And that is my hope, is that people will understand that they are all losing, and so it's better to come together and make peace.
So let's summarize. Diplomacy is exhausted. There are no bridges, and military options have to be seriously considered. And that's a wrap. This is Trex News, leaving you exceedingly extinct.
Military options have to be now considered seriously for Syria. There are no bridges. But your job is to end it now. Diplomacy has been exhausted. Military options have to be now considered seriously for Syria. There are no bridges. But your job is to end it now. Diplomacy has been exhausted. Military options have to be now considered seriously for Syria. There are no bridges. But your job is to end it now. Diplomacy has been exhausted. Military options have to be now considered seriously for Syria. There are no bridges. But your job is to end it now. Diplomacy has been exhausted. Military options have to be now considered seriously for Syria. There are no bridges. But your job is to end it now. Diplomacy has been exhausted. Military options have to be now considered seriously for Syria. There are no bridges. But your job is to end it now. Diplomacy has been exhausted. Military options have to be now considered seriously for Syria. There are no bridges. But your job is to end it now. Diplomacy has been exhausted. Military options have to be now considered seriously for Syria. There are no bridges. But your job is to end it now. Diplomacy has been exhausted.
Wonder if that worked.